The sharing of consciousness things, I think, is actually what out-of-body is, full stop. Sharing of consciousness. And again, in the Lighthouse Keepers, because Daisy Banks, lovely, beautiful Daisy Banks, is searching for her life, really, literally for her life. She finds herself befriended by this angel, Charles Dove, because that's exactly what happens. We are befriended by these beings. And he talks to her about shared consciousness. And he says, I'll take you there. And she finds herself in what appears to be this building, this huge building. And she's aware of things in the corners. Shared consciousness. She's actually within the consciousness of Lucien, the man she loves. Consciousness is a shared thing all the while, but we don't accept it. We somehow need to keep this idea of who we are. It's almost as if we're afraid to step outside the human box, eyes, nose, mouth, but we might fall apart. But the sharing of consciousness, I truly believe that's exactly what we do when we go into the state called out of body. One of the things that you have to be, really, I think, you have to want to do it. And you can go through some stages. Talking to somebody recently about this subject, a man who said he knows that it's happening to him, and he is trying to accept it, and he's trying to make use of it, because that's the deal, really. But every now and then it kind of overwhelms him, and he finds himself back in his body and disappointed because he thinks he sort of chickened out. But you don't chicken out. You do this incredibly sensible thing. It's back again to working with the body. You collude with the body, or the body colludes with you to keep you alive. Because unless you're alive, you can't be where you are. Because if you're not alive, that chain is broken and you're no longer attached to that body. So the body is anxious to keep you in situ, just as the spirit you is anxious to stay. And so there's a set of rules that happens. You build up a kind of a pathway, a jigsaw. You build it up. You say, this is what I do to get to that. And a mystic, Emanuel Swedenborg, 19th century, very, 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 very famous mystic, talks about something called the dwellers on threshold. And those are part of the psychic makeup in an out-of-body traveller, in a traveller's kit bag, if you like. And what the traveller does, he decides how far he can go, how far he can bear, how far he can stand it. So he implicitly creates barriers. Swedenborg talks about the fear of spiders. Suppose someone was afraid of spiders, had that fear of spiders so much in their living life that they could find it useful in their spiritual journeys. So to say, they might find themselves in a situation that they felt overwhelmed, and suddenly, pop, there's this bloody great spider in front of them, and they have a reason to pop back because they don't like spiders, and so they're back in their body. It's very clever. The body and the spirit are really, really clever. You get to trust in them in the end. You get to trust in the mechanics of it. I'm not sure what my early fear was, but I absolutely know what it is now, and that is of trapdoors. I have a fear of being out of body and being given a trapdoor, because I'm afraid of, if I get on the other side, it has something that I can't control, say claustrophobic kind of feeling. So I have had to work like stink to get beyond that, because because we are courageous. Human beings are, God, they're so courageous. We think, I'll go a little bit further tonight, I'll do something a little bit more wild. And suddenly, they're in a huge situation. And as in my case, the fear would be a trapdoor. So I would be somewhere, nice dream, lovely dream, floating down a river, I don't know what. And there's a damned trapdoor. So now I go with my teacher. I don't go in there alone. So if it's there, I say, can you come with me? He says, yeah. And that way I can get him, because I implicitly trust him, because I know that whatever is on the other side, I will be able to breathe and I will be fine. It is something I've learnt to do with a past life and of being smothered. That's the thing, past lives. Oh God, that's another whole subject, because I don't actually believe in them. I believe in interim lives rather than past. I don't believe in linear things. I know that there is history. I know we're told that. 1st century, 2nd, 3rd, 4th, blah, 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 21st. And so people, when thinking past lives, they tend to think I was there then, rather than I am there now. So I think they're all happening all at once. So it's just like a kind of journey all the while of learning. So always, one is being protected. Sometimes to a point where you have to do something really frightening. And I have agreed to do that. I agreed to do that sometime in the 80s. I agreed to work with Soul Rescue, which is such a huge thing that I can't dare even fiddle with it too much. But shall we say, you're not rescuing a soul, because the soul is always saved. There's no such thing. No. But what you might find is memory, a living memory trapped in time. Something horrific happened, and the memory of that horror remains almost in a kind of net of time. So it increases its intensity. It becomes like a living thing. There is no soul there. The soul is saved. Life is much more kind than we dare believe. God, Spirit, much more kind. Yeah. But those things, those little tissues of life, those little memories, I can tell you of one. Some years ago, 2 little girls disappeared. You will remember it. 2 little girls disappeared. You saw their photographs on the TV and their little red T-shirts. I won't give you their names. You will remember it anyway. They just disappeared. Nobody knew where they were. And a man close associated with them was thought to be connected with him, but they couldn't be sure. Well, I was connected by the mother of one of the little girls. She called me and she asked me, through another situation, would I look into it? Would I try to help them? Well, already I think that they knew that the girls were dead, that they had been murdered, and that they were where they were. But anyway, that bit I communicated, got through that. But then an extraordinary thing happened, and it was a gift, I think, for the mother. And at the time I was associated with a group in Rayleigh, a lovely group, lovely little group of 14 or 15 of us, experimenting with, talking with talking with other species, talking with colours, talking with Martians, etc. That was a lovely little group. But we had this thing where we would have this meditation and on various things. And this particular night, some time after I'd worked with this mother, sitting there, and we'd been talking about fear and about soldiers who, in dying, how how they managed their fear. So the whole conversation wrapped around those 2 hours was built on this word fear.